So, thanks for tuning in to this broadcast. Hope you all are doing well and had a wonderful Independence Day weekend. And it is Monday, July 7th. And can't believe we're half through the summer. I pray for the floods that's been going on in Central Texas. I live in North Texas. So I know my family's been worried about me up north, but just to clarify that I am fine. Yes, we've been rain has been plentiful here. We've gotten some flood, but not to the extent where it appears as if a hurricane has struck as it's going on in central Texas. So keep those residents in your prayers. So far, I believe it's over 80 people that perished, unfortunately. So, but yeah, the seems like our southern border friends trying to fight back and trying to enforce their immigration laws on American citizens. You see the hypocrisy here? It's not enough that they're cruel to their dear neighbors in Guatemala, because and people from Guatemala have told me that they are not nice to them. I've had students in some parts of Central America, mostly Mexico, because in Chicago, I- Illinois in general. It's That's the population. When I lived in New York, I mostly had students from the Dominican Republic. Very different breed, but yes, it's these locals in Mexico City, and I lived in City as a student. It's also called DF or DF. Back in the mid 90s, it was over a year after I graduated from high school, so it was an opportunity to study abroad after being awarded a full scholarship. And Mexico City was quite prosperous. And on my side, despite of an incident, my first actual crime of being pickpocketed. And again, when you're in a whole different country, you're naive, and my first time really away from home. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's changed since then. So, these Mexican protests came in gentrification, as we do in the U.S. in some areas. And gentrification is people with more wealth tend to come in and buy business. Some people call it an invasion as well. And the people that lived in that neighborhood are forced out due to high taxes. So this is the story. It's called Visa Verge. Maybe it's a Mexican newspaper or whatever. But this was printed July 5th, and this occurred July 4th. Another interesting thing about not just the country, but residents and citizens, illegals as well, even including the Mexicans born here. And I haven't heard this from anyone else. At least people from other Spanish speaking countries do appreciate this country, even as guests. But I've even heard, despite of their immigration status, including the ones born here, have more loyalty to Mexico. Okay. Even if they're born here, but they will insist that they're Mexican and not Americans. I'll say that again. Despite being born here, insist being called Mexicans instead of Americans. So that's like I being a black American, because I don't care for the term African American. Number one, I don't know anything about the culture, and even if I were to live there, which I don't tend to, or any other countries, there was it over 50 of them. That I wouldn't blend in with the culture because I'm an American. But yeah, they want to insist this identity. Um, course, Puerto Ricans do the same thing. They'll wave the Puerto Rican flag over the American one. Mexico City's July 4th protests oppose gentrification and U.S. migrants raising rents in Roma and Condesa. Violence caused damage to at least 15 businesses. Authorities condemned unrest but haven't acted on housing regulations. The conflict highlights growing tensions between longtime residents and newcomers amid a souring or scoring housing crisis. Independence Day of this year, hundreds march Mexico City. Wow, there's glare from this window. Uh, Against gentrification and rising U.S. migrant presence. Rents scour in Roma and Condesa areas due to U.S. digital nomads displacing many long-term residents, which is what gentrification does. I don't know if that's the intention, but as a result, that's what happens. Government condemned violence but has not implemented policies to regulate rents or short-term rentals. Hundreds of marches in Mexico City against gentrification and U.S. migration. On July 4th, 2025, hundreds of people took to the streets of Mexico City marching through the well known Roma and Condesa neighborhoods. Their goal was clear to protest against gentrification and growing the presence of U.S. migrants, especially young Americans working remotely. The demonstration, which started peacefully, quickly became the largest anti gentrification protest the city has ever seen. As the march continued, tensions rose, leading to smashed windows, damaging restaurant furniture, looted stores, and frightening tourists. By the end of the day, at least 15 businesses and public spaces had suffered damage. This protest is not just about one day of unrest. It reflects deep frustration among local residents who feel pushed out of their own neighborhoods by rising rising rents, changing cultures, the influx of foreigners, mainly from the United States. When I was there, there was a little area where there were um, American immigrants, and um, a friend of mine from Japan happened to run into that little town, and they kept feeding us drinks. They knew their Spanish. They spoke Spanish quite well, but we spoke English as well. But because of our friends' English was quite broken, we ended up speaking Spanish most of the time. So, which was fine for me because it helped me with my practice. Has changed the face of Mexico City, especially in popular areas like Roma and Condesa. As more Americans arrive, drawn by drawn by lower living costs and the freedom to work from anywhere. Excuse me, long-term residents are finding it harder and harder to afford a place to live. Let's take a look at what's driving these protests, who's involved, and what's the future might holding for Mexico City and its residents. Why are people protesting? Roots of anger. The main reason behind the protest is gentrification. Gentrification happens when wealthier people move into a neighborhood, causing rents, property rise, prices to rise. This often forces longtime residents who may not be able to afford the high cost to move out. In Mexico City, this process has sped up since 2020, especially after the COVID 19 pandemic made remote work more common. Many young Americans, sometimes called digital nomads have moved to Mexico City because they can earn US salaries while enjoying a lower cost of living, according to the Associations of American Resident Overseas. About one-fifth of the world's 5 million American ex- expatriates now live in Mexico. Most settle in trendy neighborhoods like Roma Condesa, which often lively cafes, parks, easily access to city life. I know they want to save a dollar, but um, there are states here where they can live just as easily. Let's see, what are some cheap states like Wyoming? Well, New England is quite up there. The Dakotas they can consider. Perhaps some states in Southeast. They don't have to run all the way to another country. Now that these people want you out. For local residents, this trend has a downside. Rent has scoured, making it most impossible for many families to stay in neighborhoods they have called home for decades. Some have already been forced to leave, while others fear they will be next. Protesters say that the city's policies favor foreigners and wealthy newcomers over long term residents. During the July 4th protest, people shouted slogans like Gringo out and Mexico for Mexicans. They carry signs demanding that foreigners pay taxes, learn Spanish, and respect local culture. Okay, yeah, this is all about being angry at Trump. Otherwise, they didn't have a problem with these people staying there. Graffiti and play cards throughout the march made it clear that many locals feel their way of life is under threat. How U.S. migration fuels gentrification in Mexico City. The link between U.S. migration and gentrification in Mexico City is clear. As more Americans move in, landlords see an opportunity to charge higher rents. Some even converted long term rental apartments into short term rentals aimed at foreigners, further reducing the supply of affordable housing for locals. How Here's how the process affects the city. Rising rents, displacement, cultural changes, and social tensions. Those are pretty much self explanatory. July 5th, many Mexico City officials have not announced any new policies in direct response to the protests. While they have condemned the violence and called for a dialogue, no concrete steps have been taken to regulate rents or limit short term rentals to foreigners. However, protests have succeeded in raising public and political awareness about the housing crisis. The issue is now a hot topic in local and national debates, especially with municipal, federal, elections on the horizon. Residents who need help with housing issues can reach out to the Mexico City Housing Institute or Mexico City Human Rights Commissions. So they're helping them face evictions. Um, the July 4th protest left a mark on local businesses, especially those that serve foreigners. Broken windows, damaged furniture, looted stores, have created a sense of insecurity. Some business owners worry that continued unrest could drive away both tourists and um, expatriate investment, hurting the local economy. Excuse me. Wow. Tourists and foreigners, meanwhile, may feel less welcome in the waking protests and anti foreigner slogans. Some have reported feeling harassed or unsafe during the demonstrations. This could have long term effects on Mexico City's reputation as a friendly, open city. Well, if you look at it, this is just, I mean, they were actually attacking a young man saying, Gringo, leave. They do that in some neighborhoods, despite of them being crappy, just like a lot of urban neighborhoods. Now, when they took over Compton, it can easily be applied to them as well. And when I told this to my mother earlier, she couldn't believe it. So they are guilty of doing the same thing. Uh, yeah, even though they don't contribute of owning any property. Yeah, even the American dollars that they make here and send them back home, they're not building any businesses in Mexico. They're just working here, and then they'll go back to Mexico after they retire because that's their loyalty. And one more thing, a student told me. He told his son that that piece of paper doesn't mean that you're an American citizen. Your loyalty is to Mexico. So, yeah, speaking of which, and there is a list of those who could be the most racist to the least, right? A lot of these European countries, they're called racist for sending immigrants. Americans are being judged for the same. This country being mostly white, of white ancestry, European ancestry, or wherever whites mostly come from as far as racial identity and ethnicity. They're supposed to be tolerant in their territory. They go somewhere, they're kicked out. Christina Resto, thanks for listening. Pray for our nation, our brothers under the persecuted church, and what's going on in the Middle East so that all may be saved nationally, globally. And pray for what's going on in Texas. That hopefully not only that there are no more bodies found, well, hopefully live ones, but uh, God has his hand on all of this, even though we don't understand. May the Lord bless you, keep you, and may his light shine upon you. God willing, I'll talk to you as soon as I can.